here we are, looking at the old Standard Hotel on 2nd and Gaines at the foot of Centennial Bridge. It's now the German American Heritage Center. It was first built in 1871, and it's operated by a man by the name of John Bruce, and it's a Germania house it opened up as. Then it was operated by a gentleman by the name of John Miller, and he changed the name of it to the Miller House in 1876. And it was like a social center for German immigrants that would come from across the street over there to Washington Center, Washington Square, across the street. Then that was operated by John Miller from 1876, and then it was changed to the German Immigrant Center, and then the Arcade Hotel in 1906. Then the Henry Blessing boarding house in 1917. Then in 1924 it was turned into the Standard Hotel, where it operated until it closed up and then taken over by the German American Heritage Center a few years back. As a personal side note, back in the 60s, a certain 18-year-old, along with his now handsome friend, would come down this alley right here, and this first slot was a tavern, and we would come in right about, park our car right about here, knock on the door, and we would, it was a tavern. My friend and I would buy a case of quartz, I believe it was Schlitz, quartz beer, quart bottles of Schlitz beer. Then we drive out into the country and drink them, as 18-year-olds did back then. His first doorway was a tavern, and I imagine this was the hotel entrance here. And I've been in here a couple times since they converted it to the German Heritage Center. They had a few activities in there. just thought I'd mention that personal note. And catty corner to that is the old and the original Dahl Ford dealership. This was let me cross the street here real quick. This is where my parents bought brand new 55 or 56. I thought it was a 56, but my brother says it's a 55. Two-tone, white and cream Ford Fairlane, four-door. Boy, can't see much up so close. This is the original Dahl Ford in Davenport. According to Dahl Ford's website, looked up a little bit of the history on Dahl Ford, and let me check it here. I got it on this page. Checking my notes here. There have been 5 generations of Dahls involved in selling Fords, going back to 1911, it looks like, where they sold Model Ts out of Andrew Dahl's general store. And what they would do, they would ship, Ford would ship all the parts to the dealers, where they would assemble it at the dealership, and then they would, the people who bought it would be taught how to operate the vehicles. Here's the back of it. And right here, before this parking lot was here, there was a kind of like a warehouse, and on this end of the warehouse there was a little snack route set up. And a friend of mine, he would sneak in only for get a few candy bars and that. He didn't burgle the place for money or anything like that. He just snuck in, got a few candy bars or chips or something like that, and he'd share it. He never got caught. I wouldn't go in with him because I didn't want to get caught. There's another personal side note to Dahl Ford. My brother and I had bought a 59 Ford. It was our first car back in 1965 or 1966. And we needed a repair on it one day. one time, and we brought it down here for the repair. And it just so happened that there was a burglary in town with a bunch of coins were stolen, and in those coins were a bunch of silver dollars. My brother and I worked at the Sandy's Drive-In at 14th and Harrison, 15th and Harrison, and whenever customers paid with silver dollars, which was pretty common at the time, we'd switch out the silver dollars with our dollar bills. So we had a stash of silver dollars at home. But when it came time to pick up the car that needed repaired down here, all we could use was the silver dollars that we had stashed. So we came down here and paid it off with silver dollars. So the good citizens that Dahl Ford was, they notified, and they had known, through the news about the burglary and the coins that disappeared. So the good citizens of Dahl Ford informed the police that there were a couple boys down here paying for their auto repair with a bunch of silver dollars. So what Dahl Ford did, they flattened all of our tires, took the air out, and said, well, it'll be a while, we got to see what's wrong with the tire, what's going on with the tires. And in the meantime, my brother and I were questioned by the Davenport police about where we got the silver dollars. And they contacted our store manager, Charles Clark, and confirmed that we had been doing and that we weren't the bad boys that had stolen all the silver dollars. So Dahl Ford, they conveniently repaired all our tires. I imagine just put air into them. Then we went on our merry way. So that's my connection with the Standard Hotel across the street and Dahl Ford on this side of the street, as I recall. So I guess that would be it for today.